Welcome to Cyber Dialogues, brought to you by Palo Alto Networks. My name is Brad Howarth. On today's show, I'll be talking to Palo Alto Networks Regional Chief Security Officer for JPAC, Riccardo Galbiati, about the threats that security professionals are facing and what's next for security operations. Riccardo, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Brett. Happy to be here.
What are some of the technological challenges that JPAC organizations are facing, and how can these be addressed?
I would say JPAC organizations are facing many challenges today, but I've identified at least three that come as top of mind for every CISO in the region. The first one of which is the modern attack surface evolution, and I'll unpack that in a second. The second one is the heavy complexity that we are dealing with when it comes to cybersecurity tools. And this third one is the problem of AI adoption, both from the consumption point of view and from how our attackers using AI for their own purposes. Now, if we go back to the attack surface evolution, what we have found is that we have to follow users where they are and where they're connecting from in order to identify what that attack surface looks like. And we have to follow the data as well. Where is the data located now, and how can we protect it where it is? From a user perspective, we have been quite familiar for a number of years now in having users working from any location, most likely outside of the office. And we had to develop solutions and capabilities to secure where the users are working from when they're not in the office. Now, the opposite trend has started to manifest itself, which with users coming back to the office. And so, again, the user experience impacts and the security capabilities required need to be merged to provide a seamless and effective security framework for users anyway. The second one about data, following where the data is, it's all about cloud. Cloud is effectively the place where the majority of organizations are moving data to, and also exposing data to the modern cloud native applications that they are developing. These applications are built for the cloud, are designed following different methodologies as opposed to the ones of 10, 15 years ago. And they can introduce additional risk, especially in the software supply chain side of things, which is another vulnerability and attack surface that is quite leveraged. Let's move on to the second challenge, that is the one about cyber complexity and the number of tools that are currently operated by organizations. We have run a few surveys in the region, and we have identified the number between 50 and 70 being quite common in number of tools used for cybersecurity operations. This has become unmanageable. CISOs in the region are telling us that they simply don't have the number of people and even the budgets to maintain such a large number of tools. And with complexity normally comes friction, and in some cases, misconfigurations. When you have too many tools to manage, you tend to make mistakes in how you configure them. And guess what? Misconfigurations are also one of the primary leading causes to data breaches. And finally, AI adoption. AI is on everyone's mouth for the last 2 years. Because of the generative AI hype, effectively. And organizations are still evaluating what is the best way to gain the potential benefits that generative AI will bring to the organizations, while at the same time figuring out how to handle the potential unknowns, the data leaks or loss of control of what users are doing when interacting with generative AI. So putting guardrails, or at least having visibility on what generative AI tools are currently used by employees, it's one of the starting points. But we need to also keep in mind that attackers are having quite an interesting approach to artificial intelligence. Similarly, as organizations are trying to gain efficiency in their productivity, attackers are trying to gain efficiencies on how they conduct attacks. And we have discovered quite a few examples of attackers leveraging artificial intelligence for generating better social engineering attacks, to simplify or scale out in the number of attacks they're conducting across multiple targets, and effectively gaining speed. Speed is becoming the common denominator in cybersecurity. Who is faster to attack and breach, as opposed to who is faster to detect and defend?
Now, there are many different challenges, many different solutions. How can an organization go about determining the right set of solutions?
The complexity of cybersecurity is becoming overwhelming. We have too many tools to manage. It's hard to make sense of them all. And we keep having an approach of adding one more product to the list. So whenever a new technological advancement happens or a new technology is proposed to the public, then there's always a new way of exploiting it and potentially securing it. So if we keep adding one more product to the list in order to cater for that use case, we're going to become an even more fragmented organization in the cybersecurity space. So the idea is focus on, well, first of all, reset your expectations and focus on deletion as opposed to addition. In the majority of cases, organizations don't realize that they already have certain capabilities in cybersecurity, in their cybersecurity stack, but they're not leveraging them to their full potential. And in some cases, they have redundant controls that they were not aware of. So that simplification approach, doing more with less, is one of the main ways to overcome that complexity and be prepared to defend better against attacks.
So, what kind of thinking is needed to tackle this challenge?
In a way, you could apply the so-called first principle thinking to cybersecurity. Why are we protecting something? What are we trying to really solve with cybersecurity? And how many tools do we need to line up for the task? And in some cases, in most cases, that leads to a reduction of complexity. That also involves approaching cybersecurity from an architectural standpoint, trying to build consolidated architectures where capabilities merge from multiple different domains. Let's think, for example, of the domain of network, the domain of security operations, network security, security operations, and cloud security. Those are some of the most fragmented spaces or realms of cybersecurity where there is a potential chance of optimization by building consolidated architectures. And the good outcome of that is if we start merging capabilities into platforms that potentially can simplify the way they are operationalized, we also have a benefit in consolidating the data that they leverage. So if we consolidate network security capabilities all in one platform or cloud security capabilities all in one platform, and similarly security operations in a unified platform, the data that comes with that, the visibility that is produced by those platforms can be consolidated. And with that, we can better leverage capabilities in the artificial intelligence space, as described before. Once we have good data, we can then utilize machines to figure out what really needs to be taken as a priority and automate it where possible.
Now, it's not just cyber criminals that we need to be thinking of. Regulators are taking a much greater interest in cybersecurity issues. So, how can we go about elevating the discussion regarding cybersecurity to consider this regulatory challenge?
Yes, the regulation space is very dynamic, and as you can imagine, it varies quite a bit across the JPAC region. So one good approach to link directly the business functions to cybersecurity is to identify which digital assets are the most critical in the organization, which are the ones that need to be protected first. Again, that first principle type of thinking is very suitable for this approach. And understanding which tools should be associated and which capabilities do I need to put in place to protect those critical assets first. At the same time, most of the regulations also has some time limits and requirements in the speed at which we detect and report on data breaches. We can't let an attack happen for too long before it gets reported and discovered. So again, that speed and efficiency gain is critical. And it goes back to that discussion that we were having before about having artificial intelligence help us create this consequential understanding of where an attack is coming, where is an attack coming from, and which critical assets are impacted by that, which a human by itself would be very troubled in finding because there is a lot of information to sift through, while artificial intelligence engines are designed to prioritize and find the association between a certain behavior, a certain anomaly, and the impact on a critical asset. So a combination of all the above can help in responding quicker and being compliant to the various regulations around the region.
So clearly, AI is the current challenge, but it's not the only threat that lies on the horizon. What else do you see keeping CISOs up at night?
Yeah, I'd like to start first with AI and the attackers. We haven't really seen the true nature of what an AI-driven attack could look like. I think attackers themselves are still experimenting with what AI can give them. And at the moment, they're focusing on simplification and efficiency gains. We predict, to be honest, that the capabilities of AI combined with attackers are going to evolve into something very powerful. We've done recent analysis of how could AI impact every single step of the attack kill chain, reconnaissance, exploitation, weaponization, and beyond. And we have found the efficiency gains are so huge that could completely change the game into the cybersecurity defensive side of things. How do we approach that? Another area where we have seen attackers leveraging artificial intelligence beyond pure efficiency gains is in social engineering. If we think about it, the majority of the generative AI chatbots are very good at mimicking human behavior. So that means that they can replace those attacks that require gaining trust from a user. Think about robocalls or video scams with deep fakes. Those have been proven to become very effective when AI is in place because it can lead a user to trust and think that they're doing the right thing by someone questioning them on the phone. And now we can have an unlimited army of chatbots asking questions in very natural and credible language to our employees base, and they could all be effectively tricked into doing the wrong thing.
Speaking of people, we are seeing significant cyber skill shortages across the region. So, what should we do then if we can't find the people we need to manage cyber operations?
So it has become really, really complicated to handle the situation with people from two angles. First of all, skill shortage. As we said, we don't have enough people that are trained to do that job. And secondly, people tend to be burnt out because the majority of this work is quite taxing, quite repetitive, and in most cases not interesting. And people want to do interesting work. They don't want to do repetitive work. That's where we have identified the biggest opportunity for transformation, which is what if we reverse the pyramid or the flow of operations within the security operations center? What if we put machines to interact with this data first? What if we have machine processing the data, the number of alerts, and building those stories, connecting the dots between the alerts coming from multiple tools and telling you what it actually is going on based on trained models that have seen thousands and thousands of similar events in other customers. And then we automate as fast as we can anything that we understand should be handled first. That will take away 80 to 90% of the current manually driven operations within the SOC. And then whenever there is an instance where a machine cannot make a decision, we handle that. We request a human finally to take action and decide what the best course forward would be. That approach has become very, very popular across the JPAC region and is leading to cyber transformation in Security Operations Center. And most importantly, has led to a true efficiency and speed gain. In the majority of cases, a good Security Operations Center operates in the days time frame to detect and respond to a certain attack. With this new approach, putting data centralization, machines, and automation first, we get down to hours and minutes, which is quite revolutionary.
Riccardo Galbiati, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Brad.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Join us again on Cyber Dialogues, brought to you by Palo Alto Networks, as we continue to explore the ever-changing landscape of cybersecurity in the JPAC region.